Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Captain Marvel Monday via Brain Muffin at the Movies. So this is I've had this for a few days. Actually, been meant to record this already, and when I went to find it, so I had it on my tablet, and I didn't send myself the link. And when I went to find it in Google, I found this same title. So here's Jeremy Spigorgus. So this is Greg Bryan. This is Jeremy Spirogius, I guess, Spirogus. This, and they all have, now this one, because of ad blockers, doesn't have that picture, but it is there in all of them. This one is the cheat. So this is a copy. The newsbreak.com is just copying it from the cheat sheet, which is what that first one is. This is also, okay, so we have Franz Harris. Okay, but that's Getty Images. That's where the image is coming from. So this might be another Echo site, although this is very short, and because this is a bunch of hot links on the bottom. I think I found and so there's Michael Nicario. So we have maybe, this is very strange, but this is the one that I was aware of first. This is where I'm going to start. I'm really hot. I guess I ought to back off. But now I can't hear myself. This is the problem. I don't know what I'm doing. I know I need help. If someone to help me, it'd be awesome. Elizabeth, I'm telling you, just turn it down a tiny bit and I'll fix it in post. It'll be fine. I know. May I get back to the article, please? Quit talking in my ear so that I may get this done. Or we're going to be here forever, and I don't want to edit forever. Now the input levels haven't self-adjusted. They're right where they need to be. So anyway, holding a movie with one character is not an easy task. Okay, but when the title is about one superhero, fans expect that to be upheld. Okay, so if they're already in the first sentence, I have no clue what they're talking about. Captain Marvel fans think doing this in the sequel would be a huge mistake. Holding a movie with one character is not an easy task, but when the title is about one superhero, all right, okay, now I get it. When Brie Larson was picked to play Captain Marvel, everyone thought it would be an origin tale featuring exclusively her. Some fans are still carping over the fact that they paired her up with another Avenger instead for the movie. Even if it were trolls who went after Larson for her more understated performance, there's a growing consensus now that Captain Marvel 2 has to let Larson'S Caro Danvers be the center of attention. I thought she was the center of attention in that first one. She really didn't share. I mean, part of it was breaking from the Kree and all that stuff and figuring out who she was. After all, there's still a lot to learn about where she came from and exploring what it's like for her being a woman superhero in the modern age. Okay. How come no other woman superhero has this problem? Right? We don't have this problem with Black Widow. We don't have this problem with Scarlet Witch. We don't have this problem with any of the women from Wakanda, any of the warrior fighters. We don't have, I don't even think we have this with, I forget what Gwyneth Paltrow's character's name is in the Iron Man-ish suit. We only have this with Caro Danvers. Why is that? This tells me it's shitty writing. This is the only reason we have that. Should there be more flashbacks in the sequel? Okay, well, if they're going to go forward and there's something relevant in the past, we're going to have some kind of back, because we're setting this up retroactively. What they should have done, instead of having her gone for 20 years, there should have been some sidebar movie where they're experimenting with something and it goes wrong and Captain Marvel's created in the modern setting of the MCU. Then we wouldn't have this problem at all. But because they want to go invent problems that don't exist, they went back in time to the 90s. I lived through the 90s, and the way they portrayed the 90s is pretty much garbage, okay? This is not how it was. A lot of fans who like Captain Marvel say there should be more flashbacks, chances to flashback to the 90s where the movie first took place. I don't know. No. However, they also want to hear more 90s music, something the soundtrack didn't utilize much. I think that right there is the problem. This is almost nostalgia for the 90s. No, go forward. This whole flashback, setting this back in time, have her disappear for 20 years was so dumb. I'm saying they should have been a sidebar movie where they're trying to create something. It would have made a little bit more sense because we, in modern times, because we do have female pilots and they're not just back in the 90s. They were not running combat missions or anything like that. We could have had a chance, and basically just start an origin story that is in between Infinity War and Endgame That's part of trying to experiment with half of the population being gone. And you could just do that. And then your phase 4 setup is, do we have body snatchers and all this other stuff? We don't have to go back in time and retcon all kinds of stuff, including the Avengers and the Avenger Initiative and all that stuff to shoehorn Caro Danvers in. Set her in modern times, set the whole thing in modern times, and stop doing this stupid flashback stuff. Since flashbacks are becoming somewhat of a cottage industry at Marvel of late, I'm repeating myself. Maybe it's better to focus on the present yes, absolutely. As in events after Endgame. No doubt there may be some flashbacks in the sequel to flesh out Caro Danvers' background with the Kree Empire, only because of what they did in the first one. However, dealing with the aftermath of Endgame and how Carol deals with policing the universe could be more of a focus. Yes, I agree. The biggest problem with the first film, according to Reddit users, is the main story revolved around the Avengers rather than Carol's own story. What? Maybe some fans can argue her tale was more intellectual, something that seems to be a liability in a comic book film. I don't think it was more intellectual. It was man-bashing, that's for sure, and man-hating, but not intellectual. From the perspective of Brie Larson, she found Carol's uneasy balance between her emotional Kree side and her flawed human side to be one of the best superhero character studies. Oh, unemotional. Okay, it would really, really help if I would read the word that was there. Fans think the sequel shouldn't be about teaming up with other Avengers. Which fans? Who are these fans? Part of the question is, is she leading the next phase of the Avengers? Or is it going to be all up to Spider-Man when he's been borrowed from Sony? Those who've seen the first Captain Marvel film know Danvers teamed up with a young Nick Fury from the 90s before he lost his eyes, something not everyone. Why? Who didn't like it? Okay, this is these generalities about these fans that don't exist. Where they set that movie, she has to interact with Nick Fury. There's no way around it. That's what I'm saying. Set the whole thing in modern times. It could be something like, the way that Ant-Man and the Wasp happens right during all that with Infinity War and ends with Ant-Man trapped in the quantum realm because everybody disappears who stayed behind to let him out. So that kind of thing, they could have done something similar where they're trying to build a spaceship or build something to go fetch. You could have this thing with the Kree. They could come in because part of it could be, hey, half the Kree, these people disappeared and they traced it back to things that are happening on Earth. What in the heck's going on? And then you could have something instead of setting it back in time and resetting and doing all this other nonsense that they did. While the chemistry between Samuel L. Jackson and Brie Larson was still fantastic, there seems to be some general opinion Carol's own story was too boring without having interventions with fellow future or present Avengers. I partially agree with that sentiment because she was poorly written and it was also hastily shoehorned in. They could have done a much better job there. Some fans are concerned with the writing team will have Carol team up with fellow Avengers again from the sequel, maybe Thor, Loki, or another woman. Rather focus squarely on her. Why? Well, once we got past Iron Man 2 and Thor 2, the third Thor movie, we've got Loki obviously shows up, but we also have Hulk, and it's very important that he's there. Captain Marvel 3, Iron Man 3 just felt like a wasted film. I don't know why it was even there, and all those various suits and all that's nonsense. I guess they start to get Pepper involved. But the movies, once they started to kind of intertwine, being totally solo was very difficult. Okay. So I don't know and I would love to know who are these people I've never heard any of these complaints. So I'm not saying I've got my pulse on pop culture or anything, but I've never seen any article that had these mentions. Is this really a fair assumption her story needs pumping up with the Avengers? What? Again, they should be intertwining. She should be trying to rebuild the Avengers. And you have Captain America is basically dead. I mean, he's very old. You have Iron Man's gone. You have Black Panther's got to go rule his country again. Spider-Man's going to be hit or miss depending on what kind of hissy fit Sony wants to do. Ant-Man and the Wasp really aren't going to pull off running the Avengers. And Hulk, don't know what we're going to do with Hulk. So you could have Falcon run there, or War Machine, or I guess if Falcon becomes Captain America, 2.0. But Scarlet Witch maybe, but she and Vision are off doing their own thing, and you also have Scarlett Johansson's not the Black Widow's dead. Okay, so there's a mighty big void there that Captain Marvel could fill. So I don't understand why, if anyone's really complaining other than this author, why they're intertwined now. You just get away. I think even with like Black Panther 2, it's going to be very difficult to have them. You're probably going to have Bucky there doing something in that movie, and I wouldn't be surprised if you had Bucky and Falcon and Black Panther doing stuff together in that movie. There seems to be a creed at Marvel that all MCU films have to involve the Avengers working together rather than focusing on anyone individually. Only the Avengers films, and most of Captain America, Captain America Winter Soldier, he's got what? He has at least, I know he has Black Widow's working with him, and I thought there was someone else that's working with him. I guess the early days of Falcon and stuff like that. So they're already this way. So this is already the formula. So why is this author complaining about something? This is no different than what any of the current Marvel movies are. Okay. Perhaps the thought is because Carol is really one of the most powerful Avengers of all, turns more attention to her human side being, having her interact with fellow. Yeah. That's part of the problem. They got to be careful not to make her OP, make her like Superman or Wonder Woman or something where they can do anything. Ultimately, that was one of the, I wouldn't say nice, but when Thanos, now granted, Thanos had to use an Infinity Stone to punch Carol out of the movie for 40 minutes. So that ought to say the amount of power it took to remove her from the scene. And that should speak to how powerful she is. And then there's and Feige's gone back and forth. In fact, there's been other articles recently where he's saying Scarlet Witch is more powerful. So we'll see what happens there. Larson doesn't know when the sequel will be out. No one knows when the sequel will be out. And apparently I've got some, there's some parts of this that aren't going to show up. I'm not sure how to get it to show up. According to Brie Larson from recent interviews, she says there isn't any set date. Yeah, this is something that I have been told in some of the comments to my videos, 2022. No one seems to know when. So maybe May or June of 2022. If that's the case, they got to get filming soon. And as far as I know there's been talk that there is a writer for it, but no talk about where it might be set or where it may be doing. So let's look and see if any of these other articles holding a movie with one person. So this is identical. As about one followers anticipate that become upheld. When Brie Larson ended up chosen to relax and play Captain Marvel, everyone believed it could be an origin story. What? Ended up being chosen to relax and see this reads like an SEO article. Like this isn't a person at all. Some followers will always be carping on the proven fact that they paired her up with another Avenger, alternately when it comes to motion picture. This is an SEO article. It has to be. This is translated from gibberish into English. Even if there have been trolls just who moved after Larson. Gee whiz. Okay, so this is the same article, SEOing. I don't know. Well, this is Sahiwal.tv, SHIWAL.tv is where this is coming from. I can't get the logo in here. So it could be a translation from some other language. Again, who are these fans? If this guy actually wrote this is horrible writing. This is some of the worst I've ever seen. Those who've seen the very first Captain Marvel know Caro Danvers groups up with a more youthful Nick Fury from the 1990s before he manages to lose their attention. What? I think that's supposed to say before he manages to lose his eye, something perhaps not everybody else adored. All right. Okay, let's just keep going. Hold a movie with one character is not an easy task, but okay, this one, I think, see, that's just reading it from cheat sheet. That's what this says up here, so we knew that already. A lot of fans who like Captain Marvel said there should be more chances to flash back to the 1990s where the first movie took place. However, they also want to hear more. Okay, this is the biggest problem with the first film. Holding a film with one character is not an easy task. Okay, so this is a little bit of SEO around that, written by admin. Oh my goodness, I wish my articles would get this kind of treatment. I haven't blogged in a while, and I need to get back to it, but I've never really done a search. Maybe I should. I'll find SEO automated articles on some Russian server. Captain Marvel fans think this would be a big mistake. It's not easy to. Okay, so this is the exact same thing, and this is supposedly written by Michael whomever. No, there's no picture. This is just an SEO article. This is from dailygamingworld.com. Need more flashback in the future. I'm not a Captain Marvel fan, nor am I a Captain Marvel hater. I know a lot of people don't like Brie for various reasons. I don't know her, I don't know her personally, but mild flashbacks are fine, but I think they really need to move forward. We don't need to make the mistake that Disney. Now, granted, Disney, Marvel started, this whole ride started before Disney took over of Marvel, and since then it's been going downhill. And phase 4 could be an absolute disaster if Disney gets its way. And I'm pretty much like, Disney, get out of Feige's way. Let him do what he wants. Don't tell him. And Captain Marvel is almost like this diversity quota character. Don't go full bore on Captain Marvel 2, or you will lose the normies in numbers that you will be unprecedented. Okay. I know that movie did very well in China. I know there's a lot of shenanigans, but if it's real, if the sales of Captain Marvel were real, we should see pretty good numbers for Captain Marvel 2, even if it comes out in a couple of years. The fact that there's shenanigans, the only MCU movie that has any hint of shenanigans around it, whether true or false, doesn't matter. It's just the hint of it. And now we don't know when in the world this movie's coming out. There's no set plan. They're not saying 2020. They're not saying, not 2020, obviously, but 2022, 2023. I've seen various lists of the things and the TV shows and everything, and Captain Marvel 2 isn't even on them. So I don't know why. It's very weird that it's all around one person, and you can't criticize Brie and you get in trouble and all that other stuff. But I'm not saying it's going to do better, but at least it probably got to be within 80%. But I don't agree. I don't agree. If I would like to see fewer flashbacks, just because I'd like to see them move the story forward. Like I said, they could have set it in. They could have been an experiment with the military between Infinity War and Endgame that creates Captain Marvel. We didn't have to have a flashback. We didn't have to have all that 90s stuff. We didn't have to have the really creepy Samuel L. Jackson, de-aged and all this other stuff, and how he lost his eye. None of that. All that was just stupid. It wasn't even fan service. It was just shoehorning, and I think it would have done better. But we'll see. Who knows? But so when do you think Captain Marvel 2 will come out? Do you think them having more or fewer flashbacks is good? What do you like? You would just like to see no flashbacks? You want to see more? You want to see less? You want to see her by herself more? I mean, it's really a stretch to say she was with an Avenger, since Nick Fury was not an Avenger at the time. And he has no superpowers either. So he's just a suit. So, I know probably half or more of the Avengers don't have any real superpowers, but to me, saying she was teamed with Avengers, really stretching it. You're really stretching that Play-Doh thin, and I don't really think that's an accurate assessment, but that's just my opinion. So, but who am I? I'm just some old dude with a microphone. Thank you so much, and we will see you. Goodbye. My quads are like inflamed or something. See, now I'm too low. Anyway, okay. Yeah. But see, I think it's too, is it going to, the rest of them all fit maybe. Well, that doesn't fit. We'll see how much it's the same article. Is it the same? This one does it have a byline, or is it the bottom? I don't see a byline. All right. Jeremy. Okay. But it is interesting. All right. So it's supposedly written by, okay. 3, 2, 1.